I think the vision is to develop a core offer of support services to frontline groups in Manchester, ensuring that they can access the right support in the right place in the right way for their organisation. And it's to do that to create a long-term sustainable offer, not a one-off offer that's based on a grant that's been available right this minute, but an offer that we can sustain over the years to come for groups across Manchester.
For me, it's about how we can create all the services and support that Manchester's voluntary sector needs in the future, and in some respects should have had all along. The more subtle stuff, if you like, is the chance to sit down with partners and think, what could we do if we genuinely work together? If you like, I see TLI as two journeys. One is, putting some fairly obvious bits of things in place and saying, right, that's there, you can now have that, or you can buy it, which might be the thing in the future. But the more subtle thing is the under the skin issues of how do partners create things together, work together more collaboratively, what new opportunities come out of that we didn't think of when we were writing the bid.
I think almost the vision is in the name. It's about the transformation of local infrastructure, and it is about making sure that as a sector we are efficient and effective in answering the needs of the voluntary community in Manchester. For all of us, is about making sure that we can survive through the cuts that are coming, and making sure that we as a sector are working collaboratively together, working in cooperation, and making sure that we are as a sector much stronger and much more resilient.
I think what we will see is more effective partnership working, people being able to signpost to the right services, people understanding from within the partnership here where frontline groups' needs can be met. And I think that will then allow them, the organisations here, to shape their services into the future, because some of them services are going to have to be paid for whether people like it or not, to shape their services so that they can respond to need and respond to demand. I think we'll manage some of that transformation now, and I've got to say I think that the transformation, it won't be all done by October next year. This transformation is going to be an ongoing process over the next few years as we see the shakedown of what is demanded, what isn't, and in reality, I've got to say I'd be surprised if all the organisations are able to exist in the structures they currently exist into the future.
The TLI involves some 20 different organisations that have come together to form the partnership, and that had never happened before. So I think that even that in itself is quite a good sustainability and legacy that TLI will be able to leave in the city, because we're now lots of different organisations who hadn't previously worked possibly are now working together to put our knowledge and skills and resources together.
I mean, I think one of the problems we've had in Manchester and probably in other cities with infrastructure support is that people, after a long time, created their own silos of knowledge and information and been very protective about their particular areas of work. And it's been very hard sometimes for individuals or organisations looking for support to know exactly who to go to, because there's been so many different organisations out there purporting to offer a range of different services for them. So it's very hard to sort of suss out, well, is that the right organisation for me? I think what the TLI project is doing, it's starting to bring those organisations that are still around, because obviously we mustn't forget a lot of organisations have gone as a result of the cuts. But those existing organisations started talking to each other and starting to become much more cooperative in the way that they work.
I think what there needs to be is a network across the city of Manchester, and I think across the kind of greater Manchester as well, maybe even the kind of northwest side, where, organisations who have particular kind of expertise and particular kind of skills are kind of recognised, because what's happened in the past has been lots of duplication, and it's good work, but people are actually kind of undertaking the same research, they're delivering the same services, and there's initial kind of cost to actually kind of building this up. I suppose what the TLI is trying to do is actually put a smarter kind of network in place of the voluntary kind of sector that will have a more sustainable and greater impact in kind of the work that is undertaken within the sector.
If partners are willing to pool not just their resources but their ingenuity, and to say, right, how do we collectively build each other up to be able to deliver the best things for Manchester? So what we're starting to see with things like community reporters, for example, is we're training partners, so we're training each other to be able to deliver something which then we all combine our efforts into, and then that gets either offered to the rest of the sector as a service, or it becomes a campaigning tool because we then train people out there in local communities to use social media and things to tell their stories, which is then used by partners and other frontline groups to say to commissioners, service design, deliverers, whatever, this is what the reality is. So there's a whole collaborative space being created. To some extent you can plan for that, but to some extent it's about building the relationships that allow things to be created in that space.
I think particularly the community kind of reporting, which this is kind of part of, and this is kind of great, and I think it's about kind of taking people's voices forward, whereas in the past you kind of get on with your piece of work, and the voluntary sector is not very good about publicity and marketing itself. And I think you have to be very kind of savvy these days, whether it's social kind of networks, community reporting, however that kind of takes place, and about getting the message across. The voluntary sector and smaller charities and organisations are always in competition with kind of the big or national providers, and there's some great pieces of work going on at a regional kind of level, but their voice isn't heard because there isn't the marketing and the strategy to get that message across. And certainly the community reporters is the start of that, and you can see the community reporters kind of building into the commercial and kind of mainstream communications networks and TV and kind of media, where they will start to actually come together quite closely. So that'll be good.
One of the most positive things for me personally and for our network has been actually sitting around the table with other stakeholders who are involved in building the infrastructure or providing services like we are. So it's brought us together, and these are simple things. Monthly TLI meetings are simple things, but actually it's brought us together every month around a table. We've met each other, which we might not have before, and there's several people on that table that our network had not engaged with before, and let alone work with before. We now are working together, and we know more people, and we have an opportunity to do partnership with other people. So for me and our network, I think that has been the biggest change, that we're centrally around that table with key stakeholders.
And I suppose some of the biggest positives are about the fact that we've all come together around the table, and that's been really good. There are people within that partnership that have perhaps not had a good working relationship, or not a well-formed working relationship, and that's been good. So actually sort of deepening some of those relationships, bringing together those aspects of the voluntary and community sector infrastructure support, which isn't easy to say, but bringing those together so that we're able, as I say, to weather an awful lot of the storms that are coming that's going to hit the voluntary and community sector. The issue is at the moment you have quite a lot of different organisations, some of whom are repeating some of the services that are being delivered. Now that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it does mean that hopefully through this TLI programme that there will be a lot more connections, a lot more joined up working. So as well as the joined up thinking, there'll be the joined up actions as well. The state of the sector report, I think when it's completed, will be absolutely crucial for our success going forward.
The funding's enabled us to actually kind of look more with a greater focus on exactly how volunteers are supported through CRB checks, about safe recruitment practices, and about having initially a free and then sustainable model for the voluntary sector with a CRB, Criminal Records Bureau check service, that actually kind of meets the requirements of the voluntary sector. We've also kind of put in online a number of policies on the CRB Manchester website that organisations can kind of download and get for free, and it enables them to actually implement that into their organisation, so their policies are reinforced as well.
Okay.
The other aspect is probably kind of equalities kind of hub and the equalities hub and how that develops across the actual city of Manchester. So again, kind of groups that have minority kind of groups or groups that don't have a kind of a voice will actually kind of start to be kind of heard and have an impact on how strategic decisions are made across the city. So again, that'll be very good.
Excellent. Right, I think obviously there's a limited amount of money for us to start thinking of working in different ways and become more effective. And I think obviously one of the ways we're doing that is starting to look at new technology like the very project we're doing here, which is the People's Voice Media project around community reporting. More people are much more socially media aware than perhaps ever before in this country, and people are using new social media technologies, and that's good in two ways. One, it's starting to engage people who perhaps wouldn't be engaged by traditional means in terms of wanting to know what's going on in their community, but also it brings a new range of people in that haven't been engaged before. So I think it's quite useful, the TLI, to actually move things forward in terms of bringing people together to look at new ways of working. Yeah. So yes, I think on the whole, I think it's looking very positive, and people are starting to be. The word we've just had a meeting today, and the word was used was trust, and people are starting to trust each other and welcome each other's points of views and work together, rather than what's happened in the past is people just diving off and doing their own thing, and then in a way often not worrying too much about treading on toes as long as they've got their funding sorted. So yeah, what have we got out of it? I think it's been really useful meeting people in different sectors. We've actually because I think part of the TLI and the whole sort of Manchester Community Central, I think we're much more together now and much more able to know who's around. So even if we're not necessarily if you like sharing the same office, we're much more aware of who to go to and to find out when we need support from people who work in perhaps other sectors.
So the positives I would see are we're getting some products, but we're also building a different culture in partnership working.
I think the partnership has come together very positively in terms of taking a really pragmatic and positive view of what can be done. And that might seem really simple and easy, but it's not. Getting the partnership working together is a positive step forward. I think we've seen that the community reporters work in particular looks really exciting and has a role to play and provides great opportunity for lots of groups and allows us to get more authentic voice from the sector. I think that's been a positive. I think we're underway with some interesting work around social investment that we'll start to look at. And I think we've started to have some good debate around some of the core issues, because this isn't easy. This is going to be difficult, so this doesn't get resolved by sitting around a table 3 or 4 times. This is long-term sort of this stuff, but we are starting to tackle issues that I think have been the elephant in the room type of issues over time. So that will happen. So I think we've now got a bit of that trust and the ability to do that, and I think that's a real positive. And I think we have set in chain a few streams of work, as I've said. So, and then you have got additional work around the Equalities Hub that is moving forward, and a couple of other strands that we're starting to develop. And I think we'll start motoring in the new year.
So yeah, I think it will transform the local infrastructure. I think it will make a big difference to the voluntary organisations that are still operating in Manchester, and let's just see where we go in the future.